Hi guys, welcome to our panel discussion. Today we're going to talk about redefining user acquisition in 2022, user acquisition strategy. We're going to talk a lot about AI, what works, what doesn't for user acquisition, what kind of trends in creatives you guys knows and try, as well as what channels are good to try, alternative channels as well. And yeah, we're going to talk about general learnings and epic fails that guys experience as well. I hope so. So first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is George. I'm from Georgia, representing here WeUp. WeUp is is a studio that helps guys to develop the app from scratch. Besides that, I consulting with different companies and helping them with user acquisition, with user acquisition, app store optimization, and monetization as well. Besides that, I have my 3-minute bullshit with George show where I invited one colleague and one topic with bloopers and dance. So check that out. All episodes are funny except one that I shoot together with Evgeny Tarasenko more than approximately 3 years ago. It's dedicated to the Ukrainian war, and we found people, Ukrainians, who find a job. And if you look at this episode, you can help our colleagues to find their jobs. So feel free to check. Also, there is another initiatives from Alexander Lomachenko, who developed the project Leleka, where you can buy artwork from kids, from refugee kids, and this money will go directly to the refugee, or just pay, donate $5-10 to refugee families, and not with organization, but it's straight will go to the refugee families, yes. I don't want to bother too much. I hope one of you, if one of you do this, my life will be better, and I hope that you will do this. I don't want to bother you too much about myself and the projects, and let you guys introduce yourself with a warm-up question. How will new technologies like machine learning, virtual reality, artificial reality, or artificial intelligence will reshape user acquisition strategy in 2025? And specifically want to talk about AI, what you try, what was failure, and what was the really cool stuff that you can share with us, and tips and tools, and what works, what doesn't. Yes, Sheb, let's start with you.
Hello everyone, I'm Şebnem, UA manager from Stillfront group. And at Stillfront, we have studios all around the world, and as a marketing hub, we are in Hamburg. And yeah, it's a very long and detailed question, and AI is a big topic, right? So I want to start with how we use AI in UA. So it's been more than 1.5 years, actually, we are using AI really hands-on, and our art team is really on top of it on a hobby level as well. I really appreciate it. So we do iterate statics a lot with AI, and we found also the winners out of this, and we make AI animations out of that and make more elaborate things out of what is sticking in the market. And also, if I talk about all funnel, we do lots of CSLs and CPPs out of these assets. It's also helping us iterate a lot. And yeah, it's super fast, and it's helping us to focus on important things more on the art direction. And is there anything else?
What about tools, AI tools that you use, and which one do you like and which don't?
Actually, I don't use them myself. Our art team are using, but I know that we use Midjourney also for localization. We use many different tools, and also we are working with some agencies.
Okay, so I mean, this question for sure will come to Alper if he will add all these tools. I think he has his own tool. Hey Jane, probably, that he's working on. So Mark, please.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Mark, and I work in Autoscout24, and this is the largest online car marketplace in Europe. We sell used cars, new cars, do leasing, and a lot of different stuff. And looking into AI landscape right now, we are just starting with this. And for us, I think several different opportunities we see. First of all is AI video translation, which is interesting, which basically, HeyGen, which is Synthesia, and so on, like several tools that can help you with this. And second probably topic will be AI avatars, so like mimicking a sort of UGC content. I think this is really interesting. And the third topic is changing the ratio of videos. So for example, you have some UGC videos in vertical format and you can just adapt it to horizontal or square format, and this is like really interesting for us. But we're still in exploration stage, and why it is so, if you like following all this landscape, it's basically, just maybe a year ago it became available, and 6 months ago it started to be like somewhat acceptable, but like every month it's becoming better and better. And right now we're feeling that yes, with a little bit of tweaking for our brand, which is like well known in Germany and across Europe, it's almost acceptable. But that's interesting opportunity for us.
Cool. Goran, what about Zenjob? How you deal, guys, with this kind of stuff?
So hi everyone, my name is Gaurav. I'm the performance marketing lead at Zenjob. So at Zenjob, we normally use AI and generative AI for copywriting, most of it. So we try to make it work in Google Ads and Meta Ads mostly because it's quite seamless. It integrates with the existing data. So I understand like Google's model and Meta's model, both of them have algorithmic capabilities to fetch your historical data, and also like if your prompt is good and you play around it for a while, you can generate nice images. You can also like have copy related to those images, and that could definitely help you to scale your ads. We have done some iterative tests before between like our own generated images, and we have also done like AI generated images, and we have seen that they have like very similar CTRs and very similar conversion rates as well. So it's also like we are also in an exploratory phase of AI right now. We also use @creative.ai for videos, but that's again under exploratory stage where we want to make sure that we are able to scale it up, and whether or not if it resonates with our audience, because that's the thing which comes down to it. Like some of the images and videos, they seem very AI, and it doesn't resonate with the audience. So that's what we want to see, like if we can create more natural looking images, which we can capture with the audience.
Got it. Alper, I think you are consulting. You did a lot of stuff. I think last year we talked about AI tools as well. So from last year, what insights you can share with us from the tons of projects that you had this year, probably?
So I think the tools are like they're evolving. So you don't necessarily always need to change like different tools. Like HeyGen is still good. It's even better than before. Synthesia improved a lot.
Of course.
Yeah, HeyGen is pretty good. It doesn't have this problem that we had with you last year with the translation. So localization is quite fast, but there are a lot of tools are like catching up. Like TikTok just introduced the Symphony. You can do dubbing localization like within the tool itself, whereas we used to use multiple tools to do that. So it's getting more like one-stop shop, which are quite useful. And then for like our apps with the productivity and utility at the BGNet, so we don't have too many like visual side of things, but we do a lot of like ads, text optimization, and still relying a lot on the ChatGPT and also like Perplexity and so on, and it does the job, but it's evolving now. We have all the big companies introducing new stuff. It's always worth checking. So the way we test is like you have exactly the same prompts, and then you look at the output, because using AI is a lot of also the education of the like for the AI, and I don't want to reprompt it 10 times to get this tiny output. I don't want to give 10 times feedback. So we also look at how much effort it goes into prompts, and then the output quality. So you optimize your time, because otherwise you can just prompt all day and so on. So we try to optimize that within the AI space. And then in terms of like how it's evolving, like I have some projects that they rely 100% on AI creatives, so they don't have any manual creatives, but everything they create is through like AI avatars and so on, which is quite interesting. Like how it started is like you get help from AI or partially like the copy part and so on. So it's really interesting to see that people rely 100% on AI on everything, including the visuals and the copy and all. And that will only, I think, evolve over time. These guys started earlier this year, so they never had another background, and then they had a lack of resources. So one guy manages the ads, creative production, running, reporting, and so on. And it's quite interesting to see that. Like, yes, you know it in theory, it can do it, but it's very nice to see that in practice, that running this at the 2x ROAS.
Got it. I talked to Rudolf Heidelberg, and he also managed with like 12 languages, and AI also helped him to reduce the scope with only focus on English version of the videos, and then through AI. He managed to do other 12 languages with tools like HeyGen or Synthesia. Also, beside these tools, which interesting tools I try actually. It's like Runway. Also, I don't know if you try image to video. It's really cool. Like it's like kind of if you have a static image, you can return it to the video. Another interesting one, like of course the traditional one is DALL-E and Midjourney, but all downside of this tool is that you can't actually do it free trial. It's like you have to pay. It's like bumper actually, and Midjourney in past had this that it's like it was free trial, but they removed. So guys, I don't know if someone is in Midjourney, but please remove it back. For people, I think the engagement rate in that case will be way higher because tool is really interesting and it's developed and it's really good for using for static image, I think. The next question actually with static image and stuff is about creatives. Yes, what are the new trends in creatives that you see in your industry? Yes, and what works, what doesn't work? I don't know. Let's start with Gaurav, with you.
So for our industry, it's more about looking at like what works for different demographics. Like basically, if we have like somebody who is like 18 to 21, the creative messaging would differ for them compared to somebody if they are like 22 to let's say 25. Like it differs from different age ranges. So for us, like the most important trend is to work more on short videos, like whether on the B2C side or on the B2B side. That's one of the trends. Of course, we know it's essential, but that's also where the messaging also differs quite a lot. So for us, like to diversify our short videos to make sure that it's platform specific, like not reusing Reels to TikToks or like TikToks to Shorts, is to make sure that we have platform specific shorts and we make sure that that's something which resonates with the audience. In addition to that, we also try to make sure that we are testing different design elements. That's, I think, something which has been quite pivotal for us as we have tested different CTAs, different colors, different brand designs, which could help us to make sure that we don't push creatives which are causing a lot of fatigue or if it's too much for the audience. So we try to keep we try to keep an eye on how exactly these specific creatives are working for us, how is the conversion on the lower funnel and the upper funnel, and to also make sure that we do have the right messaging for them. So I think these two are the most important parts of our creative strategies and the creative trends which we work on. And of course, keeping an eye on all the influencer marketing world, where we also try to see like how exactly what trends are overall resonating with our brand, what trends are resonating with the demographics. So making sure we can tie that into our strategy for both organic and paid UA.
Got it. Alper, do you want to add something?
I would say like AI avatars is what works the best from what I've seen. Of course, I think it doesn't. I was just saying like AI avatars, I think work the best. And on the static side, we don't experiment so much because of the how like they're getting something realistic. Like we tried like flux and all that stuff, but we don't get the exact output that we need. So we anyway experiment more with the video and then the text side of things, and we don't do static as much, as the target audience is more engaged with video. So,
got it. Mark?
Yeah, for us, I think it's a bit special because we are a car marketplace, and what works the best, it's basically the car and the price, right? And if you target the right audience with the right car, it's amazing. But then you can like move further, and with videos, for example, what helps is automation. So simple, like showing several cars with prices for different price buckets for different audiences, which is like for every market it will be quite different, right? And what we saw that, yeah, UGC basically becoming more and more important for us across all channels. And for example, really surprisingly in Google Ads, it's becoming more prominent and interesting. So like before, you can just add some UGC ads there and they just simply doesn't work. So several years ago, but right now it's just growing and growing. And what I found also really interesting, so if before, and when we worked with UGC, it was more like, okay, this is our brand, this is our app, this you can do ABC and so on. But right now you just do videos about stuff like, okay, how can you choose your first car? How can you, and for example, it's like really interesting how automatic transmission works on the car. So like apparently there are like a really huge segment of people who buy their first car and they're not really familiar with this kind of stuff. And for them, this is important. They click, they engage with the ad, and they install the app, which is like for buying a car. So this like not really direct, creative, but it works. And yeah, why not? That's really interesting.
Got it. Sheb?
We use a lot of statics, and usually it is the first step of our flow. And we test out many iterations on statics, and we also borrow what is working in the portfolio for like our game. And also we borrow some different mechanics from the industry and adapt them to our game. And most of them might work when we adapt well. And on the UGC side, we also do lots of localization, and we use AI influencers as well. And yeah, we got some successes here. And on the localization side, mouth sync, voiceover, and the text, most obviously, helped us to unlock new markets. I mean, even the smaller ones, we wouldn't have time for resources before. So yeah, I would say on statics and localization is the bigger areas.
Got it. Unfortunately, we don't have a gamer, so I can add from game on behalf of gamers. I had interview with Matej Lančarić lately, and he mentioned that the trends for gamers, the main trends are strong hooks, altered screenshot scenarios. Also, UGC works very perfect, but not with real, but also with AI. And he mentioned AI works even better than real, and this was the surprise for him. Also, of course, the fake ads and storytelling, narratives and humors are still working pretty good. So this is the addition from gamers on top of what you guys are saying. Yes?
I can say a few more things about hooks, actually. Yeah, it's a very efficient way to test out in a fast way. You don't have to produce full-blown longer videos, and you can pick whatever is still working out of the test, and you can elaborate that. And it was also one of the hacks we've been using.
Okay, cool. In terms of like channels, yes, of course. First question is which channels are working best for your reps, and second, of course, which alternative channels except the big ones like Google, search ads, I don't know, Meta, TikTok as well. Except these are working. Like you think that might work in 2025, or you already tried and worked perfectly for your app, or apps that you are working. Let's start with Alper. Alper, I think you work with the good that you work with several apps across different verticals because you're consulting a lot in user acquisition and machine learning. So tell us.
So I think people have different channel setups because of the way they look at the attribution. So if you're only looking at your MMP numbers to call the shots if this channel works or not, I think that's usually the I wouldn't say mistake, but like it's not sufficient enough to evaluate a channel just based on one source of truth. It used to be fine, but nowadays when we look at the incrementality and so on, I know many companies who only rely on the IROAS or incremental metrics. And of course, the MMP and their GA and so on, they're like still there. But at the end of the day, they make their decision based on either internal MMM mechanics or third-party recommendations. And then that's how they allocate the budgets and so on. So what happens is that a channel that might look not as good on your MMP might be actually bringing in like incremental reach, incremental conversions, and so on. So although the performance doesn't look as good as your meta, but still it is still bringing more value than your meta in terms of the IROAS side of things. So then you kind of optimize based on your IROAS rather than just the MMP CPA or the platform CPA. So then people are just stuck into these main channels. An example would be like TikTok and Snap, I think, are undervalued for some brands, either because they say, oh, it's all because of the VTA and we don't use VTA, and numbers look too good to be true, we don't trust the numbers, and so on. But I mean, we run a video advertising, so there's definitely VTA involved. Like, it's inevitable to just run everything on click only. There are some companies who choose to do that, which is fine. But then don't look only to that metric, right? Then you look at the holistic view. So I think you don't have to necessarily find the niche channel that no one knows about, but I think it's worth retesting the channels that you've been testing, but looking at a multiple dimensional data sets rather than just looking at your GA or just the MMP or just the platform data and so on. If you look at the more holistic view, what brings in what you get in the business, I would start with that instead of saying, oh, what channel we can find that no one knows about and so on. Because these 5 channels, like the Meta, Google, ASA, Snap, TikTok, are quite scalable. And yes, there's also the Quoras, Reddit, and so on. I mean, Pinterest is one of the, I would say, the recently trending one again. They're also doing a lot of like AI iterations. I haven't tested it for subs. I tested it for like e-com, because they introduced this, the background removers and some sort of AI tools. And they're also adapting all the AI-based optimization stuff. That is trending. So if you didn't try it for a while, it's a good time to try. And then another mistake I would say, like people say, like, oh, we tried it last year, it doesn't work.
But for Pinterest, you need a landing page, no? It's without a landing page, you can't do this.
I didn't try it for apps for a long time because their app whole connections was always buggy. And then at some point, they just deprecated app install campaigns. I haven't tried it recently, but for e-commerce, like, it works still pretty good as others. And then another thing is I want to add another layer on, like, never look at the channel as a channel only. What I mean is that one channel might not work as an overall, but like, let's say you're running 5 countries, and then this channel overall looks quite bad, but it might be really good for X country and Y country, and it might not be as good as A and B. So never look at the numbers at the total. I've seen very different examples where people say, like, oh, like, this channel is not good, but because everyone already has the app. Let's say in Germany, everyone knows this brand. But actually in UK, where you don't have as big as presence, you see how much more incremental value it brings, and also how much better performance you get. So look at the granular level before just looking for if a channel works or not. Look at what part of the funnel, or then the next step would be the funnels. There are some channels that is really good for upper funnel, and there are some channels that are really good for bottom funnel. So never just look at this channel works, this channel doesn't work, but pick the segments. For example, Pinterest could be great in retargeting in Germany, versus it sucks in acquisition in UK. So,
got it. Sheb, you want to add something?
Yeah, on my side, video networks are working very well. And I can say maybe a bit different from rest of us on mobile gaming. Rewarded networks has made a rise, and it was surprising. And their reward flows and all the monetization has become more sophisticated. And you probably heard about different networks. And they work well for us as well. We were able to scale a lot. and the retention has improved over time, hand to hand with our account manager. So I can recommend that. I think they are not alternative anymore, and they are mainstream, but it wasn't like this few years ago. So rewarded networks are pretty good on our site. And yeah, I already said video networks, Applavin, everybody's talking about that. It's no secret. And like Alper said, I think it really makes sense to evaluate the success long-term and short-term, and how your multipliers are behaving, how is the retention, how is the long-term ROAS. Yeah, because if you were to look on the shorter run, yeah, some networks are a bit like looking weaker. Yeah, but then you should really look into data and different metrics to make a final decision.
Got it. Mark?
Yeah, first of all, I completely agree with Alper, and this is not about like adding more channels or more like advanced channels no one know about, but yeah, more about gaining traction in these channels that you already have. And this is so interesting that, for example, at my previous company, we had TikTok on a really small budget, and once we posted for quite a while, we saw like immediate response in organic. And yeah, so attribution is broken, and you just need to deal with this. And I think, yeah, right now, if you don't use TikTok and if you don't have a really large budget there, or in any other short videos network, you're basically missing out. And yeah, speaking about some new opportunities, like completely new opportunities. So Alper, you mentioned this Perplexity AI. This is interesting. They just launched like 2 weeks ago or something like this. Their ad platform only in US for selected brands. So probably, yeah, it will become a thing maybe in 2025. Not sure about apps, but this is definitely what I will be looking at, because yeah, for those who don't know, Perplexity AI is like basically web search, but it gives you back not links but result, like answer to your question basically. And yeah, this is so interesting in terms of apps. How can they integrate this? Will they do this, or it will be only for web? But yeah, it will be nice.
So, Gaurav?
Yeah, for us, I think this has already been iterated before. We also look at channels which can give us incremental reach. It's not about like direct attribution, because I think now with all the privacy regulations, it's more and more important that we move away from traditional attribution, be it last click, be it multi-touch attribution, and focus more on incremental reach. So it's more about finding the right channel for the right demographic, and also making sure that that channel is giving us incremental reach. So for us, like the channels which we run, like UAC on Google, that works really well. It has always given us really consistent amount of users, really high quality users who have always given us good revenue on the lower funnel. When we look at social channels, TikTok is something which we didn't run for a while. And we started with smaller budgets and we started to scale it up, but we never knew how much incremental reach it was giving us. So we started doing conversion lift studies, and we did one recently, and it showed us like we got good incremental reach from that. So I would say like doing conversion lift studies is quite important for your channels. That would definitely give you a holistic view as to how it's working out for you. And also for us, like we also look into like platform specific channels as well. Like for example, there could be regions where the penetration of iOS users is lower than Android. So in those regions, we normally only run, let's say, TikTok Android campaigns. And for iOS users, let's say we run more on UAC or TikTok, or let's say combination of meta ads. And I would say for alternative channels, programmatic channels are also quite on the rise. I think they're also back on the market again. And they can also provide incremental reach if they have the right inventory and it matches with your media mix as well.
Got it. Let me disagree with some of you guys, because if we agree with everything, it's super boring. It's like, hey, we agree, yeah. Next question. No, guys. That doesn't work at my panel. So first of all, I want to touch TikTok. TikTok is really good if you're looking for CPI cheap, but then in most cases, in my apps that I work in several categories, they doesn't convert actually quite well. So if you look for cheap CPI, is good, but if you look for also CPA and the also LTV, they are not super. They are not staying, with apps that I'm working. Yes. Also, another stuff with Pinterest. Yes. To launch Pinterest, if you are a mobile app, you need a landing page. Without that, they cut. So it's impossible. Yes. Another stuff that I'm curious why you don't mention, guys. Probably you tried sometimes and it doesn't work for you. First is it depends on first channel. What is your how it's called? What is your goal? Yes, because in most cases, for your apps, goal are to get incremental stuff. But I'm working with the apps, for instance, with the big brands as well. That also the goal is to reach people, and the ideal place to reach channel is TV. I talked to my old colleague Chris. He's in this hall, and for some apps also the TV commercial works very well and reach is very high, especially in the southern countries where the reach of TV is still high. For instance, for Italian market. Also, what we are talking about new stuff is connecting TV as well, which is really big in US. And if you have like market US, I encourage you to try this channel. It's really good. Also, I know the apps that are only like focusing on influencers. They have one channel, influencers, and that's it. In most type, it's a gaming stuff, but still, some influencers are getting a lot of traffic for them on a constant basis. So this also on top, I want to add in terms of course, it's not relevant for games, but it's relevant mostly for apps, some kind of educational apps, or if you have health apps, etc. Web-to-web campaign. It's of course additional stuff. It's not like a main channel that you have to try, but it's nice to have, especially web onboarding, because I try for several verticals, educational and health, and it works perfectly. In terms of epic fails, my favorite question is epic fails and key learnings. So, I mean, you can skip epic fails and only focus on key learnings, but would be also interesting from audience to learn from epic fails and what you should avoid and what you should try. Yes, please start with Goran.
I think epic fails would be trying on UGC videos for us. Like when we started doing them, we tried a lot of micro creators and we started with a lot of UGC videos. We launched them at scale thinking that, okay, now this will solve all our problems, but it did not work for us that well initially. So we tried to understand how it's working for us. We did some qualitative research to find out, asked our own customer base, what would they prefer? And then we knew that, okay, what we were doing with the creators, it was actually shit. It wasn't working for us. So that was like an epic fail when we started. And now we are able to scale it up based on feedback. When it comes to wins, I would say iterative creative tests, that's something which is working really well for us on still images. Comparing AI-based images versus our overall in-house marketing creatives. So that is working quite well for us. A mix of those creatives within USC, within Meta is working at scale, and that's giving us a lot of incremental reach as well and good conversion value for our users as well. So I think that's something which has been quite the learning for us in this particular year.
Got it. Alper? I know you work not only with user acquisition but also the MarTech stuff. So, and they are sometimes connected to develop, for instance, the templates or whatever for user acquisition stuff. So
I would say the epic fails that I see across the board, is usually the tracking side of things. Tracking gets broken 4 weeks ago, and then they realize after a month, numbers are bad actually, what's going on, and so on. Sometimes it is because of developers. Sometimes it's because of someone decides to change some MMP settings. And sometimes it's just the platform, like Facebook Events Manager UI changes something and now it rejects the events or it doesn't collect the events anymore, although you see them on the MMP and such. There are so many scenarios, then you don't see the AEM data on the MMP anymore and so on. Luckily, there's always a fix. But I would say the MarTech related is everyone almost had at least one MarTech failure at some point. And then in terms of the wins, we had one case where from initiating the launching the paywall to actually success, there was like for one company, like I don't remember the exact number, like 70-80% drop off. So they actually want to buy, but then there's this huge drop off. And then we were looking for the ways to optimize that. Of course, you have the paywall optimization to make clear what they're going to be paying for and so on, with a bit more bold. But similar to what also Vahe mentioned in the cart abandonment, what we already started testing and we see already like good incremental results is that when the payment fails, so 90% of the apps that I've seen have just says purchase failed, right? Like you try, and then if the purchase doesn't go through, it just says failed. So what you can just try to get back 5 to 10% of the users back is you just add retry. Like purchase failed, not just OK button. You have the OK button, and you can also add the retry button. So it's all about these kind of smaller nuances that we have to analyze the full funnel and then see where you have the biggest drop off. Then you focus on that and you try to see, OK, why could it be? So easy hypothesis, OK, the price is maybe too high, or they didn't know they're going to pay this much because it's written free here and there and stuff like that. So that was like a one interesting one. Another one is also related to cart abandonment, like a bit more FOMO driven push notification that they don't finish what they're supposed to finish. This was with regards to some, let's say, security related app. And then you're like, hey, like your data is still on dark web. Like, do you really want that? And then we had like I think around 30% uplift when we did the A/B test, which was interesting. Like they just decided not to buy at that time, but then you can, so you make use of the CRM in that way. You know, like in-app CRM and then outside of the app CRM with the push and so on. So those are definitely things to explore. And then on the maybe on the ASA side, what was interesting because for our apps like utility productivity, it's mostly like Google and ASA. We don't do much else. It's about like you're going after your ASO optimized keywords, and that makes also such a big difference. Like for some campaigns, I have like 30-40 cents iOS, US CPIs, and it takes a lot of optimization and so on, and with the CPA caps and the CPT bids and so on. But it was interesting, like how we started at 80 cents and came down to like 30-40 cents. And of course, this number is much lower in other countries. And trying again the same stuff, like, for example, I didn't try SCAG structure since, I don't know, 5 years, because it's such an old school thing to try. And then for one of our new apps, like we wanted to boost more ASO side of things. So we buy specific ASO keywords to help with the traction. And then it ended up being like super efficient with super low CPI and so on, which at the end also helped with both the ASO, but also with the conversion rates and stuff. So.
Yeah, the last one, guys, it's a gray zone, so I wouldn't recommend you to follow Alper with that, you know.
No,
with rest, it's okay, but the last one.
Okay, to make it clear, I'm talking about buying your keyword on Apple Search Ads.
Ah, okay, got it. Yeah, okay. Because I was scared now, you know, like we will end up with gray.
No. I'm not talking about those shady third parties based in China to buy keywords. I'm talking about optimizing your Apple Search Ads keywords you just have a keyword level campaigns instead of typical generic competitor and so on.
Got it. Mark?
Yeah, regarding failures.
Mark, don't say I agree with Alper.
Agree, completely agree, because I think it all boils down to MarTech, and if it's not set up correctly, it just doesn't matter what you do. And I remember like at my previous job, our startup CEO, he was like relentless about analytics and everything. I understand, because you just should do this, and otherwise, so for example, when I worked in agency, when you set up like everything from scratch, you can miss some like, okay, well, I just have this kind of attribution and so on. But then if you launch the advertising on Google UAC, for example, you can just end up with spending a lot of money and just do not optimizing because your attribution window is too long or stuff like this. And it's like really painful, costs you a lot of money. Of course, good learning opportunity, but just do proper MarTech stuff and tracking and everything. Regarding like positive side, I think holistic approach and incremental like measurements. It's really important right now. So you basically can just understand like, okay, what's the one metric I'm looking at? Can I get it from somewhere which is not coming from GA, your MMP or whatever, something like source of truth from back end. And then you have strong hypotheses on how your campaign structure should look like, right? And you just launch stuff and you see like, okay, this metric is growing. And yeah, I think this is interesting opportunity because I think we used to be so much into these details, like, okay, this like small campaign, this audience, like, yeah, this works or not. But yeah, right now, if you look holistically, it's just much easier.
Cool. Goran, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I would say like in terms of like how we scale our app is more about like doing more of marketing mix modeling along with incrementality testing. I think the combination of both is something which can help us to scale our app to the next level because then we are not dependent on platform data. We're not dependent on the data from MMP. So we usually keep the same baseline for, let's say, Android and iOS users, and then we do the testing to see like whether or not we are getting incremental reach, putting those experiments into a triple M model, and then coming out with the budgets. So that's something which has been quite the learning for us and help us to optimize our budgets quite efficiently.
Got it. We are a bit out of time, so let's do one more quick stuff.
One comment to that?
Yeah, sure.
With regards to the learning, so like what I also found out recently, I'm not going to name the MMP, but there was like one new app launch, and then there's like 5 installs when there's no paid UA, and then when they start spending, like they start with like 1K a day, and then you see those like install spike with the iOS AEM, and you see that 1,000 installs on Meta, and then MMP was only able to claim like 300 or 400 of those installs, and that made me wonder, okay, if this happens at this small scale, like now we don't know, right? We all spend like $100,000, and then we don't know when we do that small changes. So it's worth looking into your raw data to see like how the IPs match and with the click IP and the install IP and so on to see how much is the discrepancy, because in this case the MMPs just said the click IP and the install IP were different, although I don't think it was different because there was no other source. So trust your MMP, but also be skeptical about how they handle it. So
cool. Thank you so much, guys. We are out of time in more than 15 minutes. Thank you, panelists. Great stuff.